Hey, friends! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast with your host, Nicole
and Hannah. Come join us for some hopeful conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing.
Hey, Hearties! We're back, and today we will be recapping Season 9, Episode 6, Past, Present, Future.
In this episode, Lee writes a new editorial in the Valley Voice. Gowan worries about the oil company's intentions now that Fiona has all but secured a deal with investors.
That's a great synopsis for this episode. What were your thoughts after watching Episode 6?
Oh boy, this episode was so jam-packed. I feel like I definitely needed to watch it more than once, because so much happened that I feel like I couldn't get it all together in my head of like, wow, so this happened, that happened. It was good. It was a lot of information, very jam-packed, but I enjoyed it.
Yes, I agree with what you said. It was a great episode and definitely jam-packed with a lot happening in Hope Valley.
Yeah, definitely. We're halfway through. So, yeah. I mean, this was to be expected for sure.
Yeah. Do we want to get right into it with the start of the episode?
Yeah, let's go.
The episode starts with Nathan. He is in the stables with Newton, and Newton just is not cooperating. Nathan is trying to put the saddle on, and he's just not wanting the saddle to go on.
Yeah, I mean,
it's sad.
It is, yeah. I mean, Newton's definitely, he's still getting over what happened, for sure. I mean, I can imagine, like, that was a really stressful situation for him. And I mean, horses, they definitely, once something happens like that, they take a while to recover. But he is a mountie horse, so it is a little bit concerning that he hasn't, recovered from, but it is to be expected. But I definitely feel bad for Nathan in this situation. It's got to be stressful for him, because of his horse is still having some issues, and so was he, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, it is. I hope that Newton will be completely recovered soon.
Yeah, me too.
The next scene, the traffic jam in Hope Valley. Oh gosh, this made me laugh.
Oh my goodness. That scene was hilarious, and I think Florence said it best. She said it best.
What was it she said?
She just kind of said it very loudly. She was just, I can't remember exactly what she said, but she was just like, come on. Like,
I know. She's like, come on.
I know. I wish I could remember exactly what she said, but Loretta played that scene so well. And I definitely saw a tweet too where she was saying, yeah, like Florence is all of us right now.
Yes.
Like, just that, like, come on, this is just ridiculous. Like,
yes.
This needs to stop. No, this is not okay.
Yeah. Also, Joseph offering to help, and Nathan was like, I'm good, thank you.
I know. I get it. I feel so bad in this situation because, Nathan, he's just trying to do his job. And, obviously, like, everyone's making it very, very hard for him to do his job. And I get it, that, like, he doesn't really want the help. But at the same time, I definitely appreciated, they were all trying to, help him. And I do think what Joseph said was, I think that was helpful.
Yeah.
But I definitely understand in that situation. Nathan, first he's dealing with his horse problems. Now he's dealing with this traffic jam problems. Which is definitely not helping.
Mm-mm.
Oh, man. Yeah. I did think it was cool how they used all the background people, all the background actors and stuff who, work on the show in the background and do the cars. I thought that was really cool that they put them in that scene. Like, such a cool way to show them in the show,
Yeah. I also loved Rosemary's comment. She says, all I know, it is almost becoming too difficult to even concentrate with all of this noise.
I know. I mean, you think about it nowadays, we're kind of used to it, but like at the same time, like back then, like they're not used to this at all, like cars are, just starting to kind of become a thing now. And so they've never really experienced this in their tiny little town. And, their walls are pretty thin back then. They don't have insulation or anything. So I can't imagine, like, it was just got to be so loud all the time. Like now it's loud for us when, we're by a train track and there's a train coming by. So I can't imagine what it must have been like back then to hear that. Definitely relatable to what Rosemary said.
Yeah. The last two things from that scene that I loved and that kind of made me laugh were Bill's comment to Newton when he says, "I don't like this any more than you do." And then Lucas and Elizabeth wave to each other as he's sitting on the saloon balcony.
Of course, Lucas will be up there sipping his tea, just watching what's going on. Of course.
Yeah. I mean, Elizabeth's just kind of like doing the I don't know what's going on
Yeah,
pose.
like I can't do anything about it. So like, I mean, come on, like
And Lucas is like,
just
hi.
like, okay, I'll see you later when I can
Yeah.
get to you.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny.
Elizabeth and Rosemary's first conversation in the episode. They talk about Fiona signing the deal for the oil company, and Elizabeth tells her that she's worried about the kind of business Lucas might be getting involved in with Wyman Walden.
Oh boy, here we go with Wyman Walden again. And I mean, I feel like I'm like, Elizabeth, it took you long enough to talk to Rosemary about this, because if I knew what Elizabeth did about Lucas's dealings with Walden, which is very little, I would kind of be a little taken back there, and I probably would have been like, asking questions by now. Like, good thing. I mean, I totally understand why she's worried about this, because I mean, she should be. Also, before I forget, I did want to mention the comment back to the traffic jam for a minute. So Nathan hands the horse off to May, and then May has to go open the pharmacy. So she hands the horse to Bill. And I thought Bill's comment there was so funny when he's like turns to Newton, he's like, "Let's go get a cup of coffee." You're gonna go take a horse to go get a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, Bill. Okay. I just thought that was humorous. I mean, I think I saw like a tweet floating around where somebody like made a comment about that. Like, that's like, wow, like you're gonna take a horse to go get a cup of coffee with you. Like, really, Bill?
That
I just
was
thought I would
hilarious.
mention that. I forgot to mention that before, but that was funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Elizabeth and Lucas on the saloon balcony. Elizabeth is asking about, I guess, him going to work. And he says that he's waiting on a call from Jerome Smith to tell him he'll be on the way with the investors' papers. Helen sent the new Anne of Green Gables book. I love Elizabeth's line in this moment when she says that that was very thoughtful of her, unless, of course, this is her subtle way of telling me to read and not write. My mother, subtle?
Never. That was a funny scene. I love hearing the ties back to Anne of Green Gables. It always makes me so happy when you bring that up in the show. I love Anne of Green Gables, so like that was pretty cool. And then obviously that comment about Lucas's mother was also just so funny.
Yeah. I've actually never seen Anne of Green Gables. I need to watch it.
You do. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I can't wait to watch it some
Yes.
day.
Yes, definitely. You should. It's worth a watch.
I also loved the forehead kiss in that scene as he was leaving. That was really sweet.
Yeah, forehead kisses are always sweet. I love those.
Yeah. Florence and Ned in the mercantile. This scene was really funny. You know, there are two customers. They had just bought something and they literally walk out without saying anything to Florence or Ned. And Florence says, "And you have a lovely, yeah, well, I'll have myself a lovely day as well."
I just love Florence, honestly. I love just the vibe that she gives off is just so funny. And I mean, I totally get it. Like, the manners in Home Valley really are leaving something to be desired for sure. So like, yeah, I totally get it. And I just think anytime, there's a scene, we have a scene like this with Florence and Molly, which we'll see later too, is just, it's just so funny and it just brings a lot of levity to the show, I think. And I love that. It's just, yeah, so funny. And I love what they do with that scene later on. I love how they like tie that in later on.
Yeah. I also love in that scene how Florence is talking about the new customer. I can't remember the word that she used, but she says that it left a sour taste in her mouth, and the descriptive words that she used that could be put in an edition of the Valley Voice. That was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
Of course, Ned not paying attention. He's standing there doing something, and he's just not listening to anything Florence is saying.
Yeah.
Florence says the descriptive words that I just mentioned: rude, peevish, discourteous. Oh, what excellent words for the next Valley voice. Sure, 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 sure. Ned, you're behaving just like those ill-mannered customers. Florence, a case of clean peaches is unaccounted for. Shall I alert Mountie Grant? That is an excellent idea.
I was gonna say Ned is pretty focused on some missing inventory.
Yeah.
He's got a one-track mind. All he cares about is those missing can of peaches,
Yes.
which he's worried about for like the entire episode. And poor Nathan has all this stuff on top of him. And now Ned's gonna come to him about a single can of peaches. Oh my goodness, Ned. So funny.
Molly comes in and she says, "Hello, dear friends." Florence says, "Here is a perfectly lovely example of just how to socialize." Florence goes on to say how the entire town is losing its manners. And then I love Florence and Molly's wave to Ned as they're walking out of the mercantile.
Like, bye.
Bye.
I love Flo-Mo. They're so great. I love their friendship. They're so funny and just yeah.
Flo-Mo Yo.
Yes. The addition of Yo definitely completes it for sure.
Joseph and Minnie's conversation outside the cafe. Joseph says he'll hold off talking to Lee about becoming partners if buying into the cafe is so important to Minnie. He thinks it might not be what he's supposed to be doing right now. I love Joseph's line. He says, "We'll pray on it and we'll wait and see where the Lord leads us."
Yes, I love that. When he said that, that just warmed my heart. Obviously, I love when they talk about putting God first in the show. I just love that. So I love that they use that line in the show and that Joseph said that at just like such a perfect moment. And I think that's so true because I think, when we leave the matters of our heart in God's hands, that's the best hands to leave it in, and he'll direct us where's best for us to go. So I really definitely love that moment for sure. And I love that they're both talking about it. I do definitely think it's interesting though that they keep bringing up the sawmill and like Joseph working for Lee. And I think it's so interesting. Like I think we've talked about this before. I definitely miss seeing the sawmill in the show, and I definitely miss seeing more of that. Like I feel like they're kind of like, they're talking about it, but they're not really showing much about it. Like I definitely love to see more of that, like back in the show, because I feel like they keep mentioning it, but it's like, where is it? They're not forgetting that it's there, but in the essence, I kind of feel like it's not there anymore. So it's just, I would really like to see that come back up in the show, maybe them at the sawmill and then Joseph and Lee kind of like working it out together. But definitely, I like to hear that they're at least talking about it.
Yeah. Also, another thing I wanted to mention, that line reminds me a little bit of the line in season 1 from the pastor. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he said, "Where God guides,
he provides."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite quotes. I love that. So true.
Yeah. The conversations at the pharmacy, Nathan comes in and he asks about Newton. May says that she passed him off to Bill, which we already knew from the traffic jam scene.
Yep. I love how he's like, "I don't suppose you're hiding Newton back there with me."
Yeah.
That was funny. First Bill with the coffee. Now are you hiding Newton in the pharmacy? I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
Hashtag where's Newton?
Yes. Hickam comes in and Nathan tells him that he needs to do something about the driving problem. And I love Hickam's line. He says, "I'm working on it." Yeah. Also, did you think that he was holding a cell phone up to his ear? Because
yes, when I saw that, I was like, it can't be a cell phone. They don't have cell phones, but like, seriously, what are you doing? Like, it literally looks like he's on a cell phone. I think I've seen multiple comments about how people thought that it was a cell phone.
Yeah. But then
I was like, no.
I took a second look and I was like, oh, wait, no, that's just a cloth.
Yeah. It definitely looked like it though, for sure.
Yeah. He nicked himself shaving. That's why he had a cloth on his face.
Yeah.
Hickam complimenting Faith on her hair. That was really sweet.
Can we just say I loved that? I'm there for it. I love that. I love the little tease of maybe possibly something. I mean, I know Fate's kind of not at that position right now and she's not thinking anything of it, but I don't know. I've always thought that they could be a cute couple. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. There's just something about them, and I don't know. I like to see Hickam like that, kind of putting himself out there in that way. I mean, I definitely feel like, he's already done that with Fiona. And I mean, I was kind of at the point where I wasn't sure if him and Fiona were just going to be friends or if they were going to be more than that. I wasn't really sure. But I kind of like these little teases of like maybe Hickam and Faith. I don't know. I guess we'll see where that goes. Right now, it's just kind of a surface thing, but I definitely liked it. I was definitely there. I was loving all the teases in this episode.
Yeah. So Hickam leaves and Faith and May have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The line from May that really made me think was she said, "It's been a while since a man's made any kind of remark like that to me."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, May was kind of really encouraging Faith, in that moment to just enjoy the compliment. That's what
Yeah.
she said after, Hickam left, was to like basically you should enjoy that compliment. And then she said that, it's been a while since like she's had that type of compliment from a man. And I definitely thought that was interesting too. Like, I feel like we're getting little bits and pieces of her backstory, but, there's still a lot to be uncovered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so curious, like, interesting. That's an interesting comment. And it definitely almost felt like, it definitely kind of felt like May's kind of like sad in a way. I kind of got that vibe that she was like, well, you should enjoy that because like she sounds like she's not really getting that in her life, or maybe she's kind of
Mm-hmm.
feeling the absence of that in her life. So I thought it was sweet of her to encourage Faith to just enjoy it because I think, even if Faith's not at that point where she really wants to consider that as anything more than a nice comment from a friend, just take those moments when somebody gives you a compliment to just be thankful for them, to just say, oh, that was really nice. Like they didn't
Yeah.
have to do that. And of all people, Hickam, of all people to give her a compliment about her hair, Hickam. Like I feel like that took a lot for Hickam to be able to say that too. So I thought that was a sweet comment. And Faith's hair did look really nice. I really like
It did.
what she's been doing with her hair recently.
Yeah. Faith wants to know what happened between her and Jeffrey. May says things were never going to work for them. And then Faith says, "Well, I'm here if you ever want to talk." That comment from May, it makes me wonder if it was possibly an arranged marriage, maybe. I mean, I
Maybe.
could be wrong. I'm just
Yeah.
throwing ideas.
Yeah. I definitely don't think whatever this was, it was something May wanted. Whatever it is, whatever situation she's found herself in, I don't think it's something she wanted. And I definitely don't think that it was actually a real marriage. I think there's something else going on that I think they're trying to make it appear as if maybe it was like we'll talk about the preview later for
Mhm.
next week. I definitely think there's something going on that they're not telling us, and I think that's what's going to be revealed. And so yeah, it definitely kind of sounds like it's sort of arrangement
Yeah.
to help with something, but I don't think it's something that she wanted.
Yeah. Parties, if you have any ideas or theories about what May meant by that comment, drop them in the comments below.
Please do. Yes, we're always interested to hear all of your theories.
Yes. The conversations in Bill's office with Lee and Nathan. Lee isn't blaming Bill for the traffic problem. Lee suggests putting in stop signs or a traffic light or someone working the intersection. And then I think Bill says something else referring to the paper. And then Lee leaves. And it's just Nathan and Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Bill doesn't want Nathan riding Newton unless he signs off on it. Bill tells Nathan that if Newton falters in the line of duty, it could be dangerous for him and anyone else around.
This scene kind of broke my heart just a
Yeah.
little bit. Like we all love Nathan and Newton together, and to just see, I mean, also because Bill and Nathan are very close, and to just see Nathan even says it, are you pulling rank right now? I just felt like Bill was very business-like in that moment, not so much of like being a friend to Nathan. This is all about the bottom line and everything. And it definitely broke my heart a little bit. Like, obviously, he's trying to do what's best. And obviously, if Newton cannot perform right in his duties, and that would not be a safe situation for anyone involved for him to keep working with Newton in that way. But it definitely breaks my heart a little bit because I don't want to see Nathan have to give up Newton. Not that he would give up Newton, but I don't want to see him stop working with Newton. I think they're such a great team, and I think it would just break Nathan's heart if he had to give Newton up and not be able to work with him anymore. Doing his rounds with him, I think that just kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Hurt mine too. Elizabeth's conversation and walk with Rosemary in town. At first, Elizabeth is standing right outside the window of Rosemary and Lee's office at the paper. And Rosemary says that she and Lee would like to increase their publication to 3 times a week. I love Lee's line. He's like, sweetheart. And then Rosemary's like, Lee's just trying to write.
Their banter is so great.
Yes. Lee is busy working on an editorial for the paper, and Rosemary tells Elizabeth she thinks the Valley Voice is ready to increase publication and that they need something noteworthy that will attract new readers.
I mean, very true. You always got to look for that story that's going to, bring in your readers. So, yeah.
Yeah. The ice cream fight. Can we just talk about that for a second?
I wish we would have seen it. I would have loved to see that. I mean, how great would it been to see? And I'm sure, the kids, as like people, they would have loved to just be able to act that out. I'm sure like that would have been just so fun for them.
Yeah.
We got to see that. But anyway, I can just imagine it in my head how that would go down. How, so funny.
I love Elizabeth and Rosemary's reaction, as well as Florence and Ned's reaction. And the two of them trying to walk across the street with the cars in the way.
That was funny. I love that little addition there. That was funny.
Elizabeth's line when she walks in to the soda fountain with Rosemary and Florence and Ned, she's like, Robert Wolf, come out here, please. Very teacher face.
Right. I love how he's hiding behind the counter. Like he's right there.
Yeah. Florence talking about the mess at the soda fountain and Ned saying something along the lines of, it'll all wash out.
I love how he's the voice of reason in that situation. Like just focused on the mess, and of course Ned is focused on the positive, the bright side of things. So he's keeping her grounded. I like that.
Allie says that Robert started it. I love how May walks in and she's like, Robert, I thought I left you in charge. Or I left you in charge.
Right. I love how when they ask him what happened, how he like literally shows them, and he like
with the seltzer bottle.
He literally like pulled it and it literally squirted everywhere. I would have loved to actually see that get on them, just just to add to it. I think that just would have been so funny. I mean, I'm sure the actors would have loved that.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been hilarious if we actually saw it get over all over the place, just for the humor of it. But for the sake of the characters, I'm glad that did not happen.
Yeah. Lucas and Henry's conversation at the oil derrick. Henry thinks that Jerome is the same man he did business with before. He's been trying to figure out what it is that he really wants. When Henry talked to Jerome the night before, he told him that the number 2 well had run dry. Henry wanted to gauge his reaction because he got a hold of the judge's ruling in the Coal Valley case. The ruling sets forth that the Pacific Northwest Mining Company cannot reopen the mine, but with a simple change in name, Jerome and his associates could reopen that mine.
That's a tough situation. I mean,
yeah, every time I hear the mine, it's just like my stomach just starts churning.
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit the whole situation whenever they're talking about this is a little bit confusing. Like it's hard to follow at times, but it definitely I can just imagine. I mean, this is the guy who's pretty much we think responsible for what happened. And the fact that, he's getting back into business with them, I mean, he was totally okay with what went down with them. I'm not saying that, willingly, maybe not that maybe he's like that evil, but I mean, he had no problem with giving them the orders, to do anything they wanted with that mine. He did not want to be a part of that, but the fact that he could get back into it and he could get he can, become in charge of that again and get that much power to be able to reopen that mine is just such a scary thought. Like, it really is scary because, I mean, there's mines everywhere. Not that, they couldn't reopen it, but I think just in a town like Hope Valley with how much devastation it brought, just the idea that that could happen again is just, that's
Yeah.
just too much. I think at this point, like in this town, I don't think that should ever be a thing again. I don't think that should be allowed to happen again. So like, I can't imagine the stress that Henry is under.
Yeah, I can't either. That just should be in the past.
Yeah.
Too much tragedy.
Oh yeah. The town does not need any more of that for sure.
What did you think about Nathan and Elizabeth's conversation with Allie in his office? And then their conversation after Allie leaves?
I have mixed feelings about it. I think all of Team Nathan has mixed feelings about this scene. It is nice. Obviously, she is a teacher, but at the same time, this wasn't something that happened at school. So I don't really exactly understand why Elizabeth had to be a part of it, unless maybe this was during, lunch hour. I don't know if school was still going during the time. I don't know or if this is after hours. I feel like this was a situation, where it should have just been Nathan talking
Mhm.
to Allie. I don't think Elizabeth should have been a part of that. And I mean, I do kind of get what the writers are trying to do, but at the same time, I think there really does need to kind of be that separation there. I really do. I think it's definitely being, I think they're definitely doing it a little too much. I think they're kind of trying to push the friendship a little too much. Not saying that I have any problem. I don't have any problem with them being friends. I'm glad that they can be friends. But at the same time, they're making it really hard to not have those old feelings that I had about Nathan and Elizabeth in prior
Yeah.
season. Really, it's really hard because, I see scenes like that and I can see like, if they had ended up together, I could see like scenes like that between them. And I'm like, yeah, but that didn't happen. She's with Lucas, so I don't want to see that. I don't want to see these family type scenes of them talking to Allie like they're, mother and father to her. I want to see, Nathan having these scenes with Allie and working at it, and Elizabeth on the side working on it. But I don't know, maybe that's just me, just because like, it definitely brings back old feelings that I had, and I'm ready to move on. I'm trying to move on from it. So it just definitely made it hard. That aside, I definitely think, Allie needed to hear that. And I do think that, Elizabeth did give some wise advice. And I do think that it is really nice to see, Elizabeth be able to tell Nathan that, there is people in his corner, and to see him be able to open up a little bit to Elizabeth and say that, yeah, like she's changing a lot, and how like, she's becoming more like Colleen every day. I'm really glad he was able to, to have that conversation with her. So from that respect, it was nice. And it was funny when, Nathan did the little frowning thing, and I
Yeah.
saw it, that was actually Kevin who came up with that. So like,
Yes.
of course that was Kevin, of
I
course.
saw that.
That was funny.
Yeah. That was a tweet from Erin. She mentioned that.
Yeah.
That it was improv.
Right. Of course it was. I was like, yeah, that's so Kevin. I love it.
Yeah. I also loved Allie's comment when she was talking about inner beauty and the shot she threw at Robert and the words she learned from her grandfather. That was funny.
Mm-hmm. That was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny. I was like, oh my gosh, of course Archie would, of course. Oh boy. Oh, Allie.
The scene with Mike and Faith in the infirmary. He invites her to dinner. I love his comment when he says, "I'm not being nice. That isn't what I meant." Or that isn't what I mean.
Oh, Hickam, he's putting his foot in his mouth. He's trying so hard. I feel so bad for, honestly, I have so much more respect for Hickam this season. I love Hickam now. Like before, I feel like he was just kind of in the background. He was just kind of that guy, Hickam. I think of Hickam and Rosemary all those years, just calling him Hickam.
Yeah.
That's literally when I thought of Hickam, that's what I thought of. Now I see him in such a new light, and I appreciate him so much more now. But now I just I feel so bad for him. Like
Yeah.
he can't get anything right. I feel so bad. Like, oh, poor Hickam.
Also, the last 3 lines in that scene, Mike says, We never said where, did we? Or when. One step at a time.
And he just shuts the door. I'm like, hello. You can't just leave her hanging. Like, yeah, one step at a time. At least you can decide when. You could tell her where later, but just tell her when.
Oh gosh.
Oh my goodness, Hickam.
Bill's conversation with Lucas, Henry, and Fiona in his office.
Oh boy.
This scene, Bill was saying that he skimmed over the filing and that the judge's stimulation is ambiguous. Bill asking for an aspirin. I felt so bad for him.
Oh my goodness. Bill is he's just getting so worked up this season, and like I feel like these situations just coming and like it just keeps getting him even more worked up. I think also they're bringing up the aspirin because the new pharmacy is in town, so they're showing that people are actually making use of it, which I think is good. I think it's good. I mean, yeah, aspirin is definitely something that's very helpful to have.
Yeah. Bill says that they all have a reason to be concerned about the possibility of the mines reopening.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas goes on to say the line that we heard in the promo last week. Bill, is there any step we can take to remove the possibility and any kind of preventative measure? Bill says they can try, but agrees with Henry that it would just show their hand and calls Smith and his associates to cause a ruse they might not ever uncover. Fiona suggests that they scuttle the deal altogether, but they can't because she already accepted the banker's note.
Once again, that's more pressure on Fiona. Like, poor Fiona, like she just keeps getting reminded and like realizing just how much damage she did. Oh, I feel bad for her, but I do love her use of the word scuttle. I just feel like that fits Fiona to a T. I love that. That was funny.
Bill does not want talk of this outside his office until they get a handle on this for the sake of the town and everyone that lost husbands and sons and brothers in that mine, as he said.
Mm-hmm. When he said that, I just get that picture in my head like, oh no, drama. Someone's going to bring it up outside his office and it's going to turn into a big thing.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's going to get around somehow.
It is. I'm not looking forward to this.
Lee and Rosemary in their office. Lee is talking about the editorial he's writing with what's happening to Hope Valley. Rosemary talking about the ice cream fight and children. She says sticky and delightful. That's a callback to season 3.
Somewhere around there. One of the earlier seasons, I think. Yeah, I can't remember exactly when, but yes, I'll always remember that line. Rosemary thinks children are sticky.
It was season 2 or 3. I know that.
I love that callback. That's funny.
Yeah. Lee getting in a fight with an outside contractor. What is going on with that?
That scene totally confused me. I was like, wait, what? Lee, like, what is going on? Like, I feel like it just was so out of the blue too, and like I don't even understand what the purpose of that scene was, other than to show that like there's a lot of new people coming into Hope Valley now with more businesses coming into town, and to just show the lack of manners for one, because that was a theme this episode, and to just show that there's a lot more trouble coming. So like, I mean, maybe that was the intention, to just show how much Hope Valley has progressed and how many people are coming into town. But at the same time, I was like, why Lee? Like, he was trying to handle the situation in a calm manner. But when the guy hit him, Lee kind of pushed him back. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on there.
We know in the next scene that it had something to do with men building a billboard for advertising jobs for the foundry.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, the foundry is definitely a big thing that's coming for sure. So that would make sense. But at the same time, I was just like, what? What is going on?
Me too. The conversations in the saloon. First, we see Nathan and May. He wants to know what brought May to Hope Valley. She says it was time to see the world, and that when Faith was in Chicago, she made it sound like heaven. So she made her way there. Nathan talking about his first concussion when he was 13 and learning how to ride. He got thrown from his horse and he got his boot caught in the stirrup and was knocked around pretty bad. This
I
broke my
wouldn't-
heart.
I know. I was not expecting that. Honestly, I was not expecting that conversation to go that way. Definitely not. I wasn't expecting Nathan to open up. I mean, I'm glad that he's opening up to somebody because I feel for like a long time, he's been very closed off, and I feel like he hasn't really been able to, to chat with a lot of people about what he's gone through that much. So like I'm glad to see that, he's found someone he feels comfortable sharing stuff with. And I definitely wasn't expecting that. And it definitely does make me sad to see that, Nathan is kind of struggling with a little bit of, I think he's struggling with a little bit of PTSD, a little bit still. I mean, obviously not to the extent that a lot of people would go through, but I definitely think he's struggling with, he has a lot of stress from stuff that's been going on. And I think it's definitely bringing up some stuff that happened in the past too. So, yeah.
The next thing we see is Ned asking Nathan about the peaches, and then Florence and Molly going up to Lucas and talking about their idea to begin hosting etiquette classes in the saloon. I love Lucas's line. He's like, absolutely not. No, thank you. Well, who would have thought? Well, I know the first person who should sign up to take our classes.
I love that scene. That was so funny. I mean, first of all, come on, Lucas. Like what? Like, come on, buddy. Come on. I was like, I will admit though, it was kind of nice to see Lucas in that moment where he was just kind of, he had a little bit maybe of a weak moment there where he was just obviously he was struggling with something, and he kind of seemed like he just did not want to, he just did not want to hear that at that moment. Like he was just like not in his mind at all. So he just kind of like brushed them off, which like, sometimes it's nice to see people, have their moments. Not that you want them to have those moments, but I do definitely think it's nice to see, that he's not perfect either. And I definitely thought that was funny. Like we know the first person who needs these lessons, and I just thought that of course it's Flo-Mo. Of course it would be Flo-Mo to be in that situation with Lucas. I just thought that was so funny, and Johanna and Loretta played that off so well. I loved it.
They did, yeah. Henry and Fiona, they are planning to talk at the oil derrick tomorrow afternoon. Elizabeth and Fiona. Fiona says that things are a little bumpy with her and Henry. Then they go on talking about baseball. Elizabeth mentioning she coached a team once.
Mm-hmm.
Callback.
I love that
callback.
I love that callback. I was like, yes, they brought it up.
I got a little teary-eyed thinking back to that episode.
Yeah, her with Jack and the kids.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Fiona quoting Coco Chanel, keep your heels, head, and standards high.
I love that. Keep your standards high, everybody. Good line. Words to live by.
Yeah. There's a little bit of back and forth with the scenes with Lucas and Elizabeth in the saloon, but we can just go ahead and talk about all of them now. They start talking about Fiona. I think Elizabeth says something like, isn't she something? And I don't remember what Lucas said.
Right? She's something, right? I was like, okay, Lucas. Okay, buddy. Okay.
Yeah. Elizabeth was like, that doesn't sound good.
I know. I was like, can I just say, I feel like Fiona's not being painted in the best light this season, and I don't like it. I love Fiona, and I feel like there's like stuff going on with her this season, and I'm just like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I really don't. I feel like there's a lot of characters this season where I'm like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah. I loved the last season, like, what's going on? But, nobody's perfect, like I said.
Yeah. I love Lucas's line when he says, in moments like these, when life is upside down, I wish you knew how much it means to me just to be here with you.
Mm-hmm. That's sweet. I think this whole conversation between them, which we'll talk about more, I think it was about time they had this conversation. Like if I was Elizabeth, I would have had this when all these things happen. I would have been like, no, we're talking about this now.
Yeah. Elizabeth wants to know if he is selling the saloon. He says no, and that he'd come to her and discuss it first before doing it, which I loved. Mm-hmm. Lucas has no doubt he was jumped by one of Walden's men when he got the black eye, but it has nothing to do with the saloon. He gave him some pushback. This line from Lucas, probably one of the best in the episode. You have to stand up for yourself or they walk all over you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's great advice.
Mm-hmm. I definitely want to know why, though, Elizabeth didn't push
Yeah.
what's going on with that situation. Like I said a few minutes ago, I think if I was her, I would have been pushing this. I don't know why she's so hands off about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's giving him his space. I mean, that can be a good thing sometimes. But I also feel like realistically, she would be a lot more concerned than she is. And so I'm just kind of wondering why. I definitely kind of
Yeah.
feel like the writers maybe could have done a little bit of a better job of, having her show more emotion there. But,
Yeah.
either way, I'm glad they're having the conversation. And I'm glad Lucas is opening up to her about it at least a little bit.
Yeah. Lucas also says in that scene that Walden checked out that morning and he thinks that he's running scared. From what? We don't know.
I mean, it's got to be something tied back to what's going on with Jeanette,
Yeah.
which we still haven't heard about for a few episodes, I might add.
Yeah.
We need to know. Come on.
Lee and Rosemary and Faith and Mike. Lee tells Mike about the whole thing with the billboard and he says that he'll look into the issue. Talking about the word puzzles, that was hilarious.
I feel like this whole scene was so awkward and the four of them played it off so well.
Yeah. Faith telling Rosemary about dinner with Mike. She says a friendly conversation over a nice meal. If I'm correct, I think Jack said that same line to Elizabeth in season 1.
It's possible. Definitely possible. I feel like you would say that.
I think he said it in the episode when they did the test for Bo.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's yes. I think I remember that. Yeah.
Before they actually did the test.
Yes, I remember that.
And she was talking about cleaning out her closet.
Yes. Oh, yes. I love that. That was a great scene.
Talking about the editorial and Mike, Lee still thinks he's the wrong man for the job.
Lee. I mean, I understand. I definitely understand where he's coming from. I definitely do. I think Hickam is going to surprise everybody at some point.
I think so too.
He's just gotta get a feel for what he's doing first. He's just gotta, learn as he goes. But he's gonna surprise everybody, I think.
Yeah. Joseph and Minnie in the cafe. He has decided not to speak with Lee about partnering because he has his hands full right now. He says that reminds him of when he first started preaching and he ran around convinced it was his job to save every soul. Minnie really wants to speak with Bill about buying into the cafe. Joseph thinks that she might need more help. Joseph says, Minnie, you know I'm better at sitting at a table than waiting on one. Whatever happens, we'll get by.
Relatable.
Yes.
Definitely relatable.
Joseph also wants to know in that scene why the cafe is so busy. And Minnie says that it's because everyone is gathered all over town reading Lee's editorial about Mike.
It must be quite the piece.
Yes. And in the next scene, Lee and Rosemary have a conversation. Rosemary does not seem too pleased about what Lee is doing with the editorial. But, she says she is concerned with what is going on in Hope Valley. She is also concerned that the newspaper could be making the situation worse.
Yeah.
Lee says he's just trying to get the conversation started. Rosemary's next line, she says, while Hickam is the new mayor, this town's problems can't be placed squarely on his shoulders and his shoulders alone.
I definitely understand where Rosemary's coming from. I think she's in the right here. I definitely think, they're kind of in a tough position because, running a newspaper really does put you kind of in the hot seat because what you say is going to be read by everybody in town. And I think I definitely appreciate that Rosemary's kind of standing up for Hickam. Like she doesn't disagree with Lee. She just thinks that, maybe they could be, a lot less harsh with him. And I think she's kind of saying that, you could say what you feel without, pushing it, I think is basically what she's trying to say. And I think she is right. Like, definitely, like, Hickam hasn't even been mayor for even like, I want to say it's been like maybe in the span, maybe it's been like at least like no more than 2 weeks, I would think. And so he hasn't even been in office for like a whole month and he's just coming into all this stuff. He's coming in, I might say, at a really bad time for Oak Valley because so much stuff is going on. And so, yeah, definitely, it's definitely not on his shoulders. And so I definitely think, giving Lee that perspective of, hey, like, this isn't all Hickham's job to fix. Like, you can't just put this all on Hickam, like the guy has a lot to deal with. And if it was Lee in this position, he would have had a lot to deal with. So, he kind of needs a little bit of perspective there, I think. So I definitely appreciate what Rosemary is saying here.
Yes, I do too. I agree. Lee decides to cancel the second run of the editorial, and the last thing we see in that scene is the kiss, which I thought that was really sweet. Very brief, but it's still sweet.
As always, yes.
Yeah. Nathan and Ned's conversation in town. Nathan's line when he says, "You dreamed about Florence and Molly?" Ned says, No, the brandied peaches. You dreamed about food? Then Ned goes on to say that he remembered Gustav bought some peaches and he must have forgotten to mark them off his list.
Nathan's so done with it at this point. He's so focused on like what he should be doing about all this traffic that's coming through Hope Valley, and here's Ned just bothering him about a single can of peaches. He's just like, oh, Ned, just figure this out. Like, I have more important things to worry about right now. I just love how like fixated Ned is on this one can of peaches. It's so funny.
Yeah, me too. And then Nathan just walks away to handle a traffic situation.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Ned, Florence, and Molly in town. So this is right after that. Florence calling Ned darling. That was so cute.
Oh, so sweet. Love them.
Florence likes Molly's idea about her column in the Valley Voice, minding your manners with Molly.
I love that.
I do too.
That is perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Lucas and Elizabeth outside the saloon. Of course, we get the sweet hand kiss. And then they go on talking about how people used to just complain about the noise in the saloon. Lucas has to meet with an attorney in Buxton to get a second opinion on some paperwork having to do with the oil company. Lucas then offers to drive Elizabeth home, but is going the long way around to avoid all of the traffic.
Oh boy. This traffic is not doing anyone any favors.
Nope. Henry and Fiona at the oil derrick. I loved how Fiona defended Mike and herself about the job that they are doing. Mm-hmm. Fiona says, I know I bear some responsibility for what happened here. And then Henry interrupts her and he says that with the shares she was given, she brought in Jerome Smith and then took his banknote, putting them on the hook with no way out. Done with good intentions or otherwise. He says that she does bear some responsibility, but suggests that they just start fresh.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good idea. I like, they're trying, to come together and to, start fresh, as Fiona said. So I appreciate that for sure.
I do too. Yeah. May and Bill at the pharmacy and soda fountain. Bill getting a strawberry ice cream. That was awesome. I love strawberry ice cream myself.
Strawberry is my favorite. That's my go-to. So I was like, yeah, Bill. Yeah, I see you. I was like, this is the first time I'm hearing that they have strawberry ice cream. I'm like, yes, okay, I approve.
Yeah. Do you have a marble slab where you are?
I do not.
That is probably one of the best. And when we go there, I usually always get strawberry with M&Ms.
Interesting.
It's really good. May tells Bill that she's worried about Nathan and his confidence when it comes to his writing. Bill wants to know if she's discussed what's going on with her husband to Nathan. She still denies that Jeffrey is her husband. She says, you're my attorney. Aren't you supposed to believe me? Bill's line, yes, but I've often found that people who get upset over the truth might be living a lie.
Oh boy. Once again, I don't know how to feel about the situation because I feel like I've said, I feel like Bill has been very extra this season. And I feel like, he's taking things super seriously. I feel like he's having a hard time being sympathetic right now. I feel like he's being, very business-like, all about the job, which I understand. He is under a lot of stress, but at the same time, I'm like, I would hope that he would have a little bit of trust of May, but at the same time, that also makes me nervous that maybe, obviously she is hiding something, but at this point, it seems like, Bill knows more than anybody. So like at this point, like I'm kind of feeling like I want to trust May, but at the same time he says that, which makes me a little nervous. Like I don't know what to think. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Elizabeth and Allie's conversation. I know that there's been a lot of talk about this on social media, but I thought it was a sweet scene between them.
It is a sweet scene. I think the only issue I have with it, kind of going back to the scene between, Nathan and Elizabeth earlier, I just think, we left season 8 in like a hard place between Allie and Elizabeth. And this is really the first time we've seen the two of them talk since season 8. And so I feel like the way things were left in season 8, I feel like that didn't even happen. Like, I mean, understandably so. I do appreciate, that the writers are making everything okay. Like, I think ultimately it should be okay. I think everybody should forgive and forget. And I think that they should move on and try their best, to all love each other and build friendships. I think that's really important. But I definitely think like this conversation definitely felt a little bit out of place, just because I feel like we haven't really seen them have that conversation. Like, okay, you hurt me, but I'm going to forgive you. And I feel like it's just automatically everything's flowers and roses, everything's good, which I get the intention behind it and I appreciate it. I just realistically, I'm also a writer, so I feel like there's a lot of things missing. And I feel like that would have been a really important scene to establish that, hey, this happened, but it's going to be okay. Everything, was resolved. And I don't really like having to think, like put that in my head, okay, it was resolved, but I would have wanted to see it be resolved. But that aside, I do appreciate that, that they had this conversation. I think the bond between the two of them was really sweet. And I think it just takes me back to, when they first met, like the first early seasons of Allie being in there and how Elizabeth was always there for her. So obviously I love that too. I don't want to be a downer about the scene because I think it was really great. I just think as, somebody who is really a fan of all of them being together, I think it's a little bit hard to see that scene and be like, well, we never really saw it be resolved. But it's a really sweet scene and I really appreciated what they were talking about because I think it's very important.
Yeah, I love Elizabeth's line when she says, "Stop trying so hard to fit in. Just be yourself, and wherever you feel most comfortable, that's where you belong." And Allie says, "Like here with you."
Mm-hmm.
That was great advice that Elizabeth gave her.
It was.
Nathan coming to see May at the pharmacy. He is not happy that she spoke to Bill.
Oh boy.
She says she's concerned, and he tells her she doesn't need to be and that he's fine.
Denial. I feel bad. I feel so bad for Nathan. I mean, they're doing a good job of showing, Nathan still, going through it. Like they really are, and it breaks my heart because obviously I want him to be happy, and I want what's best for him. I want things to go good for him this season because last season was pretty rough. But but yeah, I mean, I think he really does need to deal with it. And I think having somebody who cares enough to be able to go to somebody like Bill and be like, hey, like you're struggling. But at the same time, he did kind of tell her that in confidence. And I think, maybe May should have just said, you should talk to Nathan. I think if May would have just said, I think you should talk to Nathan and just kind of put it in his ear that maybe he should talk to him and let Nathan tell him herself, I think that would have been a better option. But I do get that, May was just trying to help and she didn't realize that, that wasn't okay for her to do.
Yeah. I love the next short scene between Fiona and Henry when they're walking through town. She's about to leave to go to San Francisco again. Henry wants to know if she'll call when she gets there. She says that she will as soon as she arrives. I love her line, "Henry, you're starting to sound like my father." Henry says, "He must be a charming gentleman then."
That is a really sweet scene, though. It is nice to see Henry being kind of that father figure.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sweet. I like that.
Yeah. Of course, Henry carrying Fiona's suitcase. That was really sweet.
That was really sweet. Yeah. Henry, he's getting better. He's definitely growing a lot. And I love to see him, how much, he's been a lot more helpful recently. I feel, and a lot more, open with people, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I think so too. Mike at his new office and walking through town with Bill. The first thing we see is him hanging up the sign and then trying to get back in.
I love this scene. It's so funny. It's great.
Oh,
Ben played it so well. I loved it.
Yeah. I love how he's like shaking the door handle. And
That was,
then when Bill walks up, it just
of course,
opens by itself.
of course.
Mike shows Bill the family photo, or Bill picks up the photo and looks at it and talks to Mike about it.
That was
Mike,
cool. I was not expecting to see like a photo of Hickman's family and to see he's from a family with all women, which is
yeah,
interesting that, it makes so much sense though that he has only sisters. That makes so much sense now. Makes so
yeah.
much sense.
His line that he tells Bill, it was hard getting into the bathroom. Oh my gosh.
This Hickam.
Only he would say that.
I know, only Hickam. He says it so innocently too. It's like so funny.
Bill and Mike, they walk away and the sign falls down. That was funny.
That was funny.
Giving him advice about nodding and waving. That was probably the best part of that scene.
Yes, yes. Bill definitely redeemed himself again in this scene. Definitely. Bill's still very serious, but he's trying. He's trying to help Hickam, which I really appreciated. And
Yeah.
I loved his advice. It was very hilarious.
Yeah. He is talking about how he thinks it's good everyone in town sees them together so that they know he trusts and supports Mike.
It's good advice, but hilarious because he's telling it to Hickam, who of course acts on it in a very humorous manner.
Yes. Mike waving to Faith, and then Bill's like, Mike, or Hickam. I don't remember which one he said, but that was hilarious. Oh my goodness. Nathan's conversation with Elizabeth and Jack. I thought it was so cute seeing Elizabeth pull Jack in the wagon.
That was sweet.
And then Jack saying hi. He's like, hi, Mountie Nathan. Hi, Newton.
So cute. He even said hi to Newton. It's so adorable.
Yes.
Oh, Highland's so cute.
Yes. I think he's pretty much stealing the show this season.
Definitely. He definitely is. Such a cutie.
Yeah. Elizabeth wants to know how Newton is doing, and Nathan wants to know if the offer about driving is still good.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And we did see a little sneak peek of that driving lesson, which was very humorous. And
Yeah.
I am very excited to see this scene. When I first heard the possibility, I wasn't too thrilled about it, but now that I've seen a little clip of it, I am there for it. I think it's going to be comedy gold. It's going to be so funny. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yes. After the incident at the soda fountain, Nathan told Robert that wouldn't look good for a young man trying to become a Mountie. So he is paying Robert to groom Newton.
I love what Elizabeth says about this, and Nathan's response is so funny.
Yeah.
She's basically like, oh, you're paying him, like you're not just having him do this as like a service for what he did. And he's like, that's a better idea. That's so much better than what I'm doing. He's like, oh yeah, duh, I don't have to pay him for this. He should be doing this to make up for me. So funny. I love it.
Yeah. The last scene in the episode is with Elizabeth and Jack and Joseph. Joseph is talking about the wagon, or the bigger wagon. And it was so cute how after Joseph tells little Jack how much he's grown, Jack says, may I see the horsies? And Joseph says, the horsies, of course you can see the horsies.
So cute.
Yeah. Also, did you notice the sign on the back of
this is Jack? Yeah, so cute.
Elizabeth wants Joseph to build a book wagon because she wants to travel into the mountains where people don't have access to books. Someone left a note on the headline board about this. Elizabeth's line before the episode ends, she says, there's a real need for books in neighboring areas, and when school isn't in session, this is what I want to do. It's what I feel led to do.
I love that idea. I mean, I definitely kind of wish we would have seen her like see that in her process of like thinking about it. But I love that idea. And I think that's such like a good way for her to, kind of use like her talents. And she like, she's a teacher, but she's always been good at like, sharing books, doing that sort of thing. And she's all about that. So I think like that'd be such a wonderful way for her to like, help the surrounding community and to just help people who, don't have access to that. And I love that idea of like a book library, like a traveling book library. It's such a great idea. I love that.
Yeah. that preview for next week. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Can I just say, okay, this was a jam-packed episode, and then for it to end on that was just, it was a lot for my brain to take in, especially since there was a certain movie afterwards that I wanted to watch. Andrew and Nikki's movie, by the way.
Yes.
Shout out to them. That was a great movie. We will recap that in a few weeks.
Yes.
But back to that preview. Oh my goodness. I'm so nervous. I am so nervous about this upcoming episode. Oh my gosh. Oh boy.
Well, first we see Faith in the pharmacy or soda fountain with May. She says, "There's nothing wrong in celebrating love, May, romantic or otherwise." The next scene, it cuts to Jeffrey storming into Bill's office.
Oh boy.
He says something like, "I heard my wife is in Hope Valley. I would like her arrested."
First of all, I don't believe Jeffrey. I don't. I don't believe him. I don't. I want to know why he wants her arrested.
I do too. The next scene in the promo is of Bill and May in the jail, and Jeffrey is in the cell tapping his fingers with his wedding ring against the metal.
I did not notice that.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh no.
Bill says, "They found a marriage license with your signature on it." May says, "What am I going to do?" Then it cuts to May and Jeffrey walking through town, and we hear a voiceover, "I don't want to be with him." Part of me wonders if he was abusive.
Yeah, I've considered that too. I mean, I'm still wondering if it was forged.
That could be.
I still am under the impression that I don't think this is a real marriage. I think something else is going on, and I definitely think Jeffrey's the only one who wanted anything to do with it. And I definitely think that I mean, I've got that impression that it was some sort of like an abusive situation.
Yeah.
Whether it was physically or just like emotionally wise, we're very controlling, is what I'm thinking. Some sort of like control situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think they cut previews in such a way where they make us think one thing and it's usually something else. So I think they cut it in a very clever way where they want us to think something, and I honestly think it's not going to be as big as we think it is.
Yeah.
Just going off of how the other previews turned out, where I thought something really big was going to happen and then it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
This is a two-parter, which also makes oh boy.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna have to deal with this for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
We might not get all our answers next week, guys.
Oh. Nathan says to Bill, "Why aren't you surprised?" And then Nathan walks away.
Nathan looked pretty unhappy with Bill.
Uh-huh. I want to know what that's about.
Well, probably Bill not telling him that he knows what's going on with May, or that he's been helping her, that he's basically her lawyer. Nathan's not aware of this, so he's probably upset at Bill for that. I mean, Bill and Nathan really haven't been chatting that much this season, I've noticed, which makes me sad too, because I love their camaraderie. I love seeing them work together, but I feel like they've barely chatted at all this season, which makes me sad. I hope we get some good Nathan and Bill time in the remaining episodes.
We see Lucas asking Nathan, "Do you think that May might really be married?" And then the last thing in the promo is a shot of Nathan and May in Bill's office with a voiceover of, I think, Lucas. And he says, "If I were you, I wouldn't walk away."
I want to know how Nathan and Lucas came to have this conversation. That's a very unlikely crew there. I mean, Nathan has given Lucas some good, advice. He gave him some good advice in the finale last season. So, I mean, maybe it is time for Lucas to give him some. But, I mean, I would have kind of liked to see it be Bill who was having this conversation with Nathan. But from what we've seen in the promo, it looks like they might not be in the best of terms this episode. So maybe it was time for, Lucas to give Nathan some advice. I would still like the two of them to be friends. So, I mean, it is kind of nice to see Lucas, being there for Nathan. So, I'm curious to see how the scene comes about in the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, me too. Well, things are getting interesting in Hope Valley.
They really are. Yeah. Halfway through the season there.
Yes.
There's still a lot to be uncovered.
Yeah.
So 4 episodes to go.
Yep. Or 5, including this week.
Upcoming week, yes.
Yeah. All right, Hearties. I think that wraps up our recap of season 9, episode 6, Past, Present, Future. We will be back next week to chat about season 9, episode 7,
Hope Valley
Days, part 1. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in our next episode. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye, Hearties.